coffee. Dzień dobry, everyone. Welcome to another video. Last time we were talking about past, right? The idea was that you discover some information about yourselves. For example, what does your last name mean or where it comes from? What was happening the year you were born in? Because there are so many pieces of information that are so interesting about ourselves that sometimes we just don't pay attention to. And it's so nice to know about that. That's what makes us what we are, right? So the idea now is to talk a little bit more into detail, right? We're going to go into more specific information and we are going to talk about childhood. And for this, I'm going to tell you my sad story as a child. So I'm going to talk about certain topics that basically form my childhood. I'm going to tell you about games, about some cartoons, food and candies, about sports, and about my sister. So to start with, games. In Colombia, there were like many like famous games to play like out in the street. You have to remember that during the 90s, at least when I was something around 6, 7 years old, the most famous thing was not PlayStation or those things. So we used to spend a lot of time out in the street. And there are around 3 games that we used to play a lot. Number 1 is one that in Spanish is called Tintin Corre Corre. So in English it's something like Ding Dong Dish. You know, Ding Dong Dish is this game that you go to a door or somebody, ding dong, and you run. You try to escape as quick as you can. So in Colombia, like Tintin Corre Corre, which means run. So like knock knock and run. That was an amazing game. There was a lot of like adrenaline in that game because we used to go to those houses where we knew that grumpy people or old people lived in because they used to get irritated a lot. So that was actually fun, but it's not fun. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not fun. So we were doing that, and obviously sometimes these neighbors they caught us, you know, because we weren't like fast enough, and basically the whole neighborhood they knew that we were doing that, so that was pretty much obvious. The problem is like usually they call me, "You, Daniel? Why you?" Well, because when I was something around 6, 7, 8 years old, I don't know how to say this. I told you I was not fat, right? But maybe I was a little bit full of love and intelligence, right? So all the love and intelligence that I had in that moment came to my body. So all the love came to my body. And because of that, I was always very slow running. We used to go to these doors. We just like ding dong or knock knock and run away. And the neighbors came out the door like, who is doing that? And I was still running. So yeah. We also used to play Jeva. And Jeva is basically what you know in Polish as Berek. Yeah, like freeze tag, Berek. And again, this kind of game I was not very good at because of I was not fast enough. We used to play a lot of hide and seek, but actually it was called escondite. Escondite is something like just hide in Spanish. And actually I was good at it. I was good at like discovering people and spotting people in these places where trying to hide from me. And that was a good game. That was a good game. And there was my favorite game all times that was played with marbles. You know, marbles, the little rounded balls that you play like this, like there are the different colors, they're like crystal colors and that stuff. And that was an amazing game because do you remember when you play with these things, I didn't have to run. I didn't have to run. So many of you ask me about sometimes the Xbox and PlayStation thing. Again, like in that time, I didn't have that. Actually, Xbox didn't exist. PlayStation, maybe PlayStation 1, but none of my friends had that. But there was one console like that was very famous. that was very popular. That was Nintendo. When I was 9, I received my first Nintendo. That was something like this. And it was crazy because I mean, now I compare it with the games that you have today, and obviously like CDs, and obviously they didn't exist. We used to have cassettes, and I'm gonna show you like this. And sometimes you put the cassette into, you insert it into the Nintendo, and it didn't run. I mean, it was like there was a problem, so you have to take the cassette off and you have to blow it like, and then you put it again because sometimes there were like dust inside. I try to compare those games to the games you have today in these Xbox and PlayStations 5 for I don't know what number that is now. Now you have this 3D like thing, like super cool characters, and it looks so amazing, so realistic. And no, this I'm gonna show you one of my favorite games that was called Contra, and it looked like this. That was one of the coolest games like ever in that time. But if you compare it to now, Number 2, let's talk about cartoons. I was really a fan of good cartoons from the 90s, basically. And there were a couple of them that I love. They are just in my heart. I'm gonna name my top 5 cartoons all times. Number 1, Caballeros del Zodiaco, which I guess in English are the Zodiac Knights. And they were so cool. Then we had Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball, that was like so amazing. Top 3, I love Thundercats. They were so cool. They were Power Rangers. That was like one of my favorites all times. And you know, the Power Rangers, they were like these rangers. They had different colors because that represented different like dinosaurs, right? So they were like the Rex, the Rex and the other dinosaurs. There was one that I loved so much. That was the White Ranger. I mean, it was super white. It was like the lion. I'm sorry, no, not lion. No, tiger. It was like the tiger white thing. And I even had that for Halloween. Look at this. Almost the same. Talking about candies, when I remember my childhood, there were 3 things that I loved. Honestly, like love. Number 1 was something that's called Paleta Dracula, which was like this. Paleta Dracula was just like kind of an ice cream thing, right? But it was so cool because in the package, I mean, you had like the ice cream, and at the bottom you had like a gift for you, like something. So sometimes you had like a little toy or a sticker. I loved it because I wanted to see what was inside. But there is something that you have to know about me. It's like I don't like ice creams. I mean, I do like them, but when they are in a cup, right? When you can eat it with a spoon, But if I have like the cone, I hate that. Hate it. Because when it starts, because sometimes I take too long to eat it, so it starts melting down, right? The ice cream, the cream melts down in my hand. I hate it. I always like it in a cup. Now this is going to be super weird because in Colombia there is one candy that is like super famous. So obviously there are coffee candies everywhere, and this is one that is very common. So this is a coffee candy. I don't know if you can read, like café. So Café Buen Día, very popular, and basically they are made of coffee, and the finally. So that's very famous, but there is another type of candy that is very famous as well. That is called the candy of aguardiente. Aguardiente is this. Aguardiente is basically a liquor, like alcohol, like let's suppose vodka. So it's the same as if in Poland you had vodka candies. It's a little bit weird. And actually that was for kids, right? That was like for kids. Oh my God. So when I was 9, I was already an alcoholic. Sports. What happened in sports? Well, I played many things when I was a kid. I used to do football, but so no, I was not fast running, and I was very bad with my feet playing football. So then actually I was trying swimming. And that was so cool because I was into swimming for a couple of years. And you know what to dive is? To dive is when you jump like this, right? This is where I was learning how to dive. Then I found my sport. So when I was something around 12, I started practicing basketball, and that was my sport. It was very nice because in basketball I got taller and I got thinner. So yeah, for example, this is a picture of the team. So here I was around 12 or something like that. And then when I was something around 18, 19, I started practicing skateboard, but I didn't like it much. I was so much into extreme sports, so I started practicing BMX. And I practiced BMX for a long time, but then I started breaking my bones because I started doing tricks and stuff. So I broke my collarbone, I broke this bone, and yeah, so it was pretty dangerous, but I really had so much fun with it. Now let's talk about a very hard topic for me, my sister. I love my sister. No, I really love her. But I guess the economy was a little bit different during my childhood and her childhood. And actually, I never knew about this until one day I was checking the albums, the photo albums of my family. So I was happily showing my friends, like, look, this is me when I was a child. So half of the album is Daniel, half of the album is my sister. There is one event that is very popular for all kids, which is the first communion, the ceremony and stuff. But then in the afternoon, you are having some kind of meeting party at home where you invite your friends, you know, you have some cake, you receive some gifts. This was part of my first communion. Look at me. No. Look at me. Now look at the decoration. All right. Table, cake, decoration, me. Let's check my sisters. Do you see a difference maybe? And in that time, obviously, the most common thing from family was to receive gifts. They used to give you clothes, they used to give you toys, soccer balls, and usually my family, my aunts, I told you, like many times they were giving me socks. I had like a huge collection of socks. But my sister, because when she did the first communion, now it was something like this. Basically, she had a box and people used to put money inside. Money. And then there is a second thing that is very important for us, kind of important, is when you finish high school. Let's talk about high school for a second. I used to go to a public school. Such an amazing time in high school with friends, with my teachers, with everything. I loved being in high school. And my sister, no, she didn't go to a public school. She went to a female private school. So this is my sister in her school with very nice like uniforms for girls and stuff. This was me. Okay, no work. Okay, good for her. Nice. Maybe the economy in that time was better for her. When we finish high school, usually again we receive something like oh my God, you finished all school. That's the first big thing in your life. Good. I always loved everything about markers, highlighters, pens, pencils, colors, notebooks. I love arts like painting and those. So my mom, it was amazing. She gave me a box full of colors. I mean, you open the box, like, and it was like all the paintings and the markers and the color. And I was so happy, you know, and that was for me an amazing gift. Then my sister finished high school. She received something a little bit different. Her gift was a trip to the Caribbean. I still love her. Anyway, so guys, that was everything. That was a little bit about my childhood, some information about me. I want to know a little bit more about you. You're gonna record yourselves. I have some list about what I want to talk. So I want to mention some games, some cartoons, some sports. Yeah, so I have like a draft of the things that I want to talk about. Tell me a little bit more about you and the ideas that you talk, okay? Record yourself, talk to me. Remember to use past tense. We're talking about past, obviously. So I'm looking forward to listen to you, to see your videos, and to have fun with this. See you soon.